When we think of Latin America, we traditionally think of it beginning in Spain, with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella sponsoring the voyage of Christopher Columbus in 1492. Columbus had believed he could reach the spice trade and other riches of the Far East by sailing west over the Atlantic instead of following the difficult eastward land route or sailing around the southern tip of Africa as the Portuguese did. In 1492, Columbus sailed with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, on his first of 4 voyages, which paved the way for Spanish colonization in the Americas. The conquistadores who followed him laid claim to territory throughout modern-day Central and South America, establishing an empire spanning most of what we know as Latin America today. Spain's colonial system initially consisted of 2 viceroyalties. The first was Nueva España, which spanned from the western United States through the Caribbean, through Central America to the northern tip of South America. This viceroyalty was founded with its center on top of at the site of the city of Tenochtitlan, which is today the site for Mexico City. In South America, the viceroyalty of Peru spanned most of South America and had its seat where the Inca Empire was established in Lima, Peru. As the colonies were established and the need for labor increased, African slaves were brought to the Americas. The resulting mix of peoples and cultures, European, indigenous, and African, are largely considered what formed the foundation of Latin America. However, if we consider the historical timeline in a more global context, an important question emerges. What role did Asia play in the story? We know that Columbus and many others were trying to find a faster route to Asia for trade. So why does our interest in Asian connections in Latin America usually stop here? If we broaden our map to include a trans-Pacific view, we began to see the bigger story of colonization and global trade in the colonial era. China, by this time, produced quality silk and porcelain, and other goods and spices from the region were in high demand in Europe. The Asian market demanded silver, which was being heavily mined in the Americas. This formed the basis for the development of an extensive trade network, which brought goods from Asia to Manila in the Philippines, which was founded and ruled by the Spanish in 1571. From there, goods were shipped on the Manila galleon to Acapulco, Mexico, where they were exchanged for silver. These Asian goods were then transported to Seville, Spain, the official port for American trade, where they entered the European market. This galleon trade lasted for 300 years and is considered by some to be the beginning of the world's global economy. In addition to goods, we have to remember that people moved along this trade route as well, some freely as sailors or merchants, while others not so freely as slaves or servants. As Spain colonized the Americas and extracted wealth, especially via silver mines and sugar plantations, more and more workers were needed. The indigenous population was decimated by the conquest, and African slaves became the main source of labor. Slavery, however, declined in the early 1800s and was abolished in the mid-1800s. This left colonial mines and plantations with a new shortage of workers. The answer was to bring indentured workers from the Far East. Let's take the case of Peru as an example. Chinese workers came to Peru under the coolie system from 1849 to 1874. They were recruited by contracting companies in China to travel overseas as indentured servants working in mines, plantations, or railroad companies, for example. Most came to the Americas expecting to work their 8-year contracts, gain wealth, and return to China for a better life. However, they were often exploited through their contracts and treated like slaves, and rarely were they able to earn enough to return to China. Instead, they settled in Peru and largely became merchants. Japanese immigrants first came in 1899 under much the same system of contract labor. As they were able to break free of their contracts, many Japanese also became merchants. Asian immigrants began to form a successful merchant class in Peru, establishing restaurants, barbershops, and other small retail businesses. They also formed cultural and economic organizations to support each other. The success and cohesion of these Asian groups unfortunately contributed to cultural tensions and anti-Asia sentiment in the region. We can see the legacy of Asian contact with the Americas in a number of ways. Chinese porcelain and silk influenced Mexican pottery and Guatemalan textiles. Chinese and Japanese food forever altered the cuisine in Peru. Chinatowns are common in major Latin American cities, and Asian Latinos make up a significant portion of the population in several countries, including Peru, Brazil, Mexico, and Cuba. In order to fully understand and appreciate the Latin America we know today, it's important to step back and take a truly global look at its history.